Welcome to another edition of New in Viswalk 2026. Today I'm happy that I can present to you the new 3D models which we have added to the new release. You see that there is even a robot included among these three models, not in the default settings to be honest, but it is included in the setup. And you may also see that some of the models are enhanced visually even by having some textures being applied, like the lady here with her trousers. For every model which has a texture, there is also a variant which does not have a texture, so you can still color them according to attribute values with almost a full body, because otherwise it's sometimes a little bit scarce, like the man here, where only the agal is colored according, in this case, to experience density. That might be a bit little in case you want to spot the value quickly. So there is also the version of this man not using textures, which you can color full-bodied. Let's have a side-by-side comparison of old and new models, and you can see that in this model I have just replaced the 3D models, and you can see that it's at least right after the beginning of the simulation. The trajectories remain the same as it appears. In fact, it's only similar. Also, the colors remain the same. It does change a little bit. Why? Because the new models do not have exactly the same dimensions like the old models, and the distribution and the compositions are not exactly the same. And for that reason, since the body size is included in the formulas which compute the forces in the social force model, the trajectories also do change a bit. When the density is very small, the effect is very small as well. When the density gets higher and people get closer to each other and the body size has a more important role, then the changes are more relevant and get larger. Since the new models are about 5% larger, the capacity flow is about 5% smaller. That doesn't mean that your existing models change, because when you open an old model with the version 26, the old 3D models will be used. But when you start a new model using the new defaults, where we use the new 3D models, then you would see this effect. Now the question is, okay, new 3D models, we did it for visual purposes to modernize the look. Shouldn't we have tried to really match the properties of the old models, although it's not really possible to do that without getting some strange effects on the visuals? Yes and no, because there is a real effect behind that. People in most places of the world have grown larger since we started Viswalk and had that first edition of the 3D models. So it covers a bit of a realistic effect, not unlike the 3D models of the vehicles, which we introduced last year, where also the vehicles on the road grew larger. So in the end, it's up to you. Anyway, it was up to you, since people around the world have not the same average sizes. The populations have not the same size, not the same size distribution. So it's anyway up to modelers to match that to local conditions, and not only local conditions, but also conditions over time. And of course, it is still possible to adjust the size of the 3D models, the 2D models. It's not required to use the size from the model file, but you can scale it. You can scale the width, you can scale the length, you can scale the scale. So there's a scaling parameter. as I have done here for the robots. So in this case, there is the standard robot and then a skinny robot and a large robot. That allows to match that. The only drawback is that you will see a warning message whenever you open the model, which asks you if you want to change the scaling parameters, the size parameters of models to the values which are in the files. That's it. Have fun with the new models, the new robots. And I'm looking forward to seeing simulation videos from you coming up in the next months and years. Thank you. Bye.